Harihi Om Sadashiva-samārambhām Shankaracārya-madhyamām Asmadacārya-paryantām Vande Guru-paraṁparām Mūkam karoti vācālam Pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Paramananda-madhavam. Om Sishyatma Samarpan Karpanya Dosho Upahata Swabhavaha Pritchami Tvam Dharma Sammuda Chetaha Yashreyasyan Nishchitam Bruhitan Me Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Om. We are in the 70th Shloka of Bhagavad Gita. We finished 69th Shloka in the week before last, and now we are starting on the 70th Shloka. The Shloka goes like this: Āpūryamāṇam Acala-Pratiṣṭham samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi. Āpūryamāṇam Acala-Pratiṣṭham. Āpūryamāṇam, always being filled. Purnam, we know that. This is a very common term that we use. Āpūrnam, not apurnam, Āpūrnam, completely filled. And Acalaha is unmoving, Pratishtham, fixed, being steady or balanced. So one who is always full and is steady is the concept that is being discussed here. The next thing that he says is, how does this person express himself, or how does he sit is the better one. How does he receive things? Samudram apaha pravishanti. Samudram is a common word. The ocean. Apaha is water. Pravishanti enters. In this world, in all the oceans, think in terms of the millions and maybe billions of gallons that are pouring constantly into the ocean. No matter what happens, the ocean remains steady. That is the example that is being given. Yadvat, just as, tadvat, similarly or in the same manner, kāmāyam pravishanti sarve. Kāmaha, the desires, are yam, into whom, pravishanti. Pravishanti is enters, sarve, all. Several desires will constantly enter into human being. You cannot avoid it. But what you can do is you can make your sitting a little better. And that can only happen if you are full. In the same way, sa shantim apnoti. That person, shantim, peace, apnoti, attains or achieves. Na kama kami. Not kama kami, one desirous of fulfilling his desires. So he's not going to run after fulfilling the desires that get entered into us because of the contacts that we have made with the sensory object or sensory aspects related objects. So whenever the sense object experience something in the world, it will ignite a desire in you. Those desires enter into you and they shake you. But if you are full in your mindset, then it is not going to shake you at all. It is going to keep you in the same way. So here Bhagwan has given an example of in the manner in which several rivers are flowing into the ocean, and yet the ocean remains steady of its own nature, of its own self. Similarly, a person who has got the sthitham in his, the prajna in his, is sthitham in him, that person also is never moved by the several desires that enter into him at all times. Going a little into analysis, the essence. Just as countless rivers flow into ever full and unmoving ocean without changing the ocean's characteristics, so too all desires enter the wise person, and yet he remains undisturbed. Such a person attains peace, not the one who longs for desires, is the interpretation that we make out of this shloka. So, how is the state of mind described here? Like an ocean for the Sthitapragya. And for commoners, we can say like a bucket of water. That is what the way that we are. Be it Ganges or wastewater, the ocean remains full and it remains unchanged. Whereas the bucket of water will get influenced by what flows into it. And if it is not flowing in, the bucket will feel empty. That is, it is getting impacted. It seeks a change at all times. That is what a common man is. That is what we all are. Whereas a Sthitaprajña will feel complete and full in himself at all times. We can take the example of colors or odor. Even if in case it is bad odor filled water, when it enters the ocean, the property of the thing that enters changes, not the property of the ocean. Whereas, because we start identifying ourselves with our desires, we change with what is happening in us. Emotions still arise in the Sthitaprajña, like the waves. But in a common man, the same emotion defines him. Remain an expression of its powers, not its identity, as identity lies in depth, not the waves. That is the reason why the ocean is unmoved. But because we define our identity with what is flowing in, we become disturbed. There is an alternate version too. When water identifies itself with the ocean, it remains complete. The journey to the cloud or to the rivers or kitchen is only transient. The eventual home is the ocean, and they need me for identity. They require the water for their identity, and that is why I am serving this particular world. It is only my ignorance which is building an identity of myself with that experience. When I remove it and I see myself as the water, I am no different than the ocean that is something so strong. A very nice way to put it, and I thought it was a very, very varied and a beautiful explanation, and I should bring to your attention. Explore within. Say you are part of Ganges, you will consider yourself blessed. And say you are part of a drainage, you will consider yourself cursed. If that is true, if the answer is no, I'm water, it is the same, I don't mind. If in case I've been put into a drainage, then I'm just water still. The drainage is using me, that's about it. I'm still water. If that is the sense of vision that you develop into you, then you remain steady. If it is going to impact you, then you are in the path of regression. That is what we need to understand based on this alternate vision that has been provided. I definitely like this particular one too. But trying to keep up with the tradition, I'm just continuing with the way that we have studied Bhagavad Gita. Divine and deplorable experiences will remain as long as you identify yourself with the transient and the transactional part. The moment you realize yourself as the one that contains everything, that is the basis for everything, the whole world changes. In the transactional concept, you will never experience Shanti. You may feel like you have been successful one day. The next day, the run will start again into you. So the term kama kami is used in this context. Kama means the object of enjoyment, and kami means one who desires it. Saha refers to him as in the Sthitapragya, and the kama kami refers to one who is not a Sthitapragya. So you should look at it from that point of view. Now, using the term kama kami, we can apply it to both the versions that we have read here. When I am influenced by the object of experience, driven by the desires in me, then I am always volatile. I am always changing. There is no state that I can hold into. The moment I start realizing that I am full, I am complete, then that particular division vanishes. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a place wherein the Hiranyagarbha, he will be alone. Then he will say, okay, ekakina ramate. He says that, okay, alone, it's not really very comforting. It is a little boring from one point of view. Then he says, okay, why not I create something out of me? Then he creates something out of himself. A bit later, he realizes there is someone else and he gets startled. As to, hey, what is that? And then he realizes, oh man, it is me only. Then it is Aham Brahmasmi, is the realization that he goes through, is the way that Upanishad goes. That split in you of duality is the reason for all the experiences of difficulties and goodness, happiness, prosperity, or sorrow and pain. All these things are because you have divided the wholesome in you. When you look at it as a whole, there is no division. And when the division vanishes, the pain that you are suffering also vanishes. Moving along, kama kami. Why not just address as kami? Or, keeping with the chandas, he could have even said sarva kami. Kami is one who has desires. But by calling out kama kami, Bhagavan is establishing one who is attached to the very process of desiring, not desiring. The Sthitapragya may also have desire. What Bhagavan is wanting to emphasize is having the desire is not wrong, but being attached with that desire is the problem. The moment the desire becomes important to you, the moment the desire becomes the driver in you, that is when you will experience these ups and downs. I cannot live without these desires. That kind of feeling will come, and that will start driving you, and that drive will bring you more turbulence. So the term kama kami basically is not satisfied even after fulfillment, constantly generating new desires, becoming emotionally dependent on those desires. That is the concept that is spoken here. You'll have to give me a minute. Bhaiya Jai Siya Ram. Vanakkam. Okay. Okay. I don't think so, but can you call Sheetal if you don't mind? I'm in the class. No problem. Bye. Yeah. So after achieving, we get quickly bored. We are immediately looking for the next goal. We cannot sit quietly without craving for something. That craving becomes the way of life for us. When that happens, Bhagavan calls such a property in us as kama kami. So here we typically define, or we typically discuss the opposites. What is a kama kami versus apta kami? A kama kami will feel incomplete. An apta kami will feel always complete. There will be much more problem than what even the kama kami has. Yet that doesn't really disturb that person because he feels complete at all times. So developing a feeling of completeness in you becomes an important value that we get from here. A kama kami runs behind desires, whereas an apta kami lets the desires come into him. There is a dependence on the outcome for a kama kami, whereas the apta kami will be independent of what the outcome is. That is where the karma yoga plays a very beautiful role. What does we get from karma yoga? The two main characteristics, which is Ishvara Arpana Buddhihi, that whatever I am doing and whatever I am putting my effort towards is as a small instrument of God. The second thing is, whatever I get in return, prasada buddhihi, I take it as a prasad. It is not going to change me. It is going to develop the respect in me, saying that, okay, you gave me so much of pain, I respect you, I accept it. Wow, you gave me this much of success, thank you, I accept it. But then continuing my independent functioning, not being influenced, is the main difference between the two. And because of this difference, a kama kami will be very easily disturbed, whereas an apta kami will be naturally peaceful. Will there be no disturbance? No, there will be. But the disturbance will not disturb him from within. That is the difference that we have to learn. Am I getting disturbed from within, or has the disturbance just come to me? That maturity of seeing things will develop into an apta kami. The kama kami will identify himself with the experiences. Identifies the experiences is the difference. Being associated, the I getting associated into an experience is the differentiator between a kama kami and an apta kami. So desires do not disturb the wise. Not because desires have stopped coming, but because the person is ever full. There is no space internally. There is no vacuum left for anything to go and occupy there. It is always complete. Experiences do not leave impression, but they dissolve upon arrival. When Ganges enters the ocean does not think I have become the Ganges. The Ganges actually loses its identity and becomes one with the ocean. The same thing with a drainage that is running from a nearby place. And that is the same thing that applies where Brahmaputra enters as well. No matter what enters, that remains the same. And that is the main thing. Anything will enter into me. In my life, there will be various things that come and impact me. There will be people who will be doing injustice in front of me. There will be people who will come and save me from a lot of troubles at all times. Both of them get dissolved into me because I remain ever full. That developing the ability to see that I remain ever full is the value that we focus on this shloka. So the important values are handling desires, suppression. If you suppress it, it is only going to increase the inner pressure into you. When that increases, eventually it will explode one day. Instead, see the opportunity to explore. Okay, why is this desire? What has come to me as a desire? Or why am I getting influenced by what is entering in this particular place? From where is that entry point? If you just focus on that entry point just evaporates because you will not be able to point a finger into it. Indulgence, addiction, or dependence. So when you observe them in you, follow up with vrat and dhyanam. This is again a very bahiranga sadhana is the word that we use, which is, a very expression based, very ritualistic practices that can help you overcome. So when you see that is happening, for example, that is a desire, I'm not able to let go of it, then follow it up with vrat and dhyana. Wisdom. Start living in the realization that desires are the slips that you are experiencing within your own manaha. As in not the desires, but your attachment towards the desire. Remind yourself of dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. Right? Sangasteshu bhajayate. We had seen it in 2.62, 2.63, etc. That negative cycle. Sangat sanjayate, kamaha kamat, krodo vijayate. Right? So this cycle, that negative cycle, keep reminding into you to say that, hey, this has happened. I am seeing this dependence. I am seeing this addiction. I am seeing this pressure. Understand that this negative cycle is there somewhere. Identify those negative cycles. Put the value in terms of meditating on those negative cycles to identify. You don't have to cure it, because that identification in itself is the cure. As soon as you identify it, you will laugh at yourself saying, oh man, now I understand where I slipped. That is the realization that it brings. So the objective must not be to solve the problem. The objective must be to identify the core of that problem. When you start identifying that core, believe me, you will be wondering how beautifully everything vanishes. As I told again, it is not like a movie wherein the sannyasi is sitting and there is nothing that is going to happen to him, kind of a image that gets pasted. No, there will be all kind of moments that happens in a Sthitapragya too. And we need to develop that into us. In Kama-kami, the alternate versions that I read, Kamaha represents that towards which desires are born, the object of experiences. Kami represents one in whom such desire arises. Together, they represent one in whom desires arise towards the object of experience. This is just an alternate version. I want you to be aware of it, that these kind of statements may also come. This doesn't negate either of the two things that we saw earlier. It is just one way of putting it. There is a possibility that when you take this line, your definition of further things will change. So if there is going to be an argument or a debate or a healthy samvad that happens with somebody, and you see that there is a difference, see what is the root. Are they defining kama-kami in a different way? And that can lead you to understand why you are talking two different things. In life, everything that you experience can have only one truth. Okay, with every identified truth, there can be many, many such identified truths. But with respect to a defined truth, there can be only one. That single sat, when you see that, say, I'm telling, hey man, there is a rope. And say Shrikant Bhaiya comes and says, "Hey man, there is a snake." Now there is a difference in the way that we have seen. When we go and explore that particular object and determine that it is actually just a crack in the road, then we both remove our ignorance and become one with the Sat. Whenever you experience that there is a difference in the object that is being defined, try to find the truth and you will see that it can only be one. And lead your path towards that. This leads us to one who is dependent, which is Paratantra, versus one who is fulfilled in himself, the Swatantraha. Like one's peace is dependent on how the experiences shape the person from time to time. What happens around me make me act or perform. Like my boss, my friends, my family, their expressions dictate how I react. A Sthitapragya will be governed by his or her own decisions. The Achalam and Pratishtham. That is the place where the emphasis is very beautifully joined into this shloka. Shanti is seen as referring to moksha. Only when you become Acalaha and Pratishtaha, you become eligible to attain the moksha. So they are looking at it from an eligibility point of view. In our tradition, there is no eligibility. It is the obstruction of not being able to see the truth, which is preventing you from the liberated person that you already are. But here, the way that they see is, unless you put your effort towards becoming Acalaha and Pratishtaha, you will not be eligible to attain the moksha, to attain the salvation. So there are various ways that people have looked into this shloka. Going into the Bhashyam, Acharya provides details on Lord Krishna's poetic metaphor. Just as the vast ocean remains unaffected, even as countless rivers pour into it, the wise person's Sthitapragya remains unshaken in the presence of sense objects and desires. Desires may raise, but they do not agitate him. They do not bring about a chalanam in him. They dissolve back into his self-abidance. Swa atmavasham kurvanti. He uses praliyante, na swa atmavasham kurvanti. He is using that as an example. By contrast, the kamakami, one who is addicted to craving, can never find peace because he is always agitated by unfulfilled desires. And that is the meaning of it, is the way that Acharya has pronounced in his Bhashyam. Proceeding to the 71st shloka, the shloka goes like this. Vihaya kaman yas sarvan pumanscharati nispruhah nirmamo nirahankarah sashantimadigacchati. So here, vihaya, giving up, kamanyah sarvan. Kaman is desires. Yaha, one who, sarvan, all. Puman's charati, Puman, an individual's charati, moves or goes about, contextually, lives. Nisprihaha is remains free of attachment. Nirmamaha, nirmamo becomes nirmamaha, without the sense of mamakaratvam. Mamakaratvam means this belongs to me, as an absence of a proprietorship towards anything. Nirahankaraha, without any ahankar, right? So this ahankar is the false ego. That I, that kind of projection of I that comes is the ahankar. Without that projection of I. Sa shantim adhigacchati. Adhigacchati, he says, very quickly he attains the Shanti. Just mere realization takes you in the path of Shanti, is the contextual meaning here. The key message that we see, the wise persons do not stop living. They stop depending. We see this as expanding on the previous shloka. In 270, Bhagavan established that kamakami, that kamaha enters but does not disturb. Here the emphasis is made further, more deeper, as in no dependence and no identification goes with that kamam. Kama enters, that is not stopped, but there is no dependence or identification. The two words nirmamaha and nirahankaraha are the key that Bhagavan emphasizes in this shloka. Vihaya kaman. Given the expression from the previous shloka, here letting go, vihaya, of the desires, sarvan kaman, gives the meaning not suppression, not absence of activity, but lack of dependence on the fulfillment of those desires. That is the freedom from internal psychological need. That is what the drive that Bhagavan is taking us towards. We always give the example of Acharya. If he had not had the desire to write all these bhashyam, we would not have been benefited as we progress today on the path he laid. Right? The teacher has taught us this. He has written the bhashyam and he has established a way of looking into it. If he had not done that, so I have no desires, I'm not going to do anything. I have no desires, so I'm not going to teach. I'm just going to lie idle. If this comes to it, it's such a bad misunderstanding. The thing is, when we say lack of desires, the dependence on the desire, if in case it is not done, it is not going to disturb me. If it is done, That is the purpose, and I have driven towards that purpose. And that is the place where we bring a word called as Kshetra Paripalanam. That brings about a clarity in terms of what our objective in life should be. Like Shrikant Bhaiya or others, the Kshetra Paripalanam basically represents something like how you take care of the baby. Our objective is to take care of the baby. Will the baby ever even consider that we are taking care of the baby? No. You ask the baby to smile, it will just, what do you say, turn around or start crying. When we don't want it to cry, it will cry. When we want it to smile, it will not smile. It will just kick on your face. All those things are there. The child is not even bothered about you. That is what this Loka is. But our objective must be to take care and nourish that child. That is why we use the term Kshetra Paripalana. So when the Kshetra Paripalana becomes the objective, Acharya's desire to write this Bhashyam is so valid. But what is the emphasis? Though these desires existed, assuming some of the desires of Acharya was not fulfilled, he wrote for, say, 10 or 11 Upanishads. But there are so many more. There are 108 Upanishads. Maybe he had that intent or he had that desire to write for all the 108. If it has not got fulfilled, it has not got fulfilled. That is fine. I put my effort to the point that I was able to, or that I was destined to put the effort to. That clarity will be there. That is the key for understanding Vihaya Kaman. It is not like I will not have any desires. The desires will not make or bring about a change in me. The desires will make me act towards it. That action versus reaction is the difference. Proactive versus reactive. Nispruha. This is another qualifier. Has achieved the freedom from craving. Spruhā, the attachment. While kama refers to desire, spruhā further clarifies the sarvan kaman to include subtle longing and emotional dependence. That spruhā, that attachment, that binding that happens. When we look into ourselves, we could see that even after dropping the desires, subtle craving may remain. The nispruha refers to this subtle craving also having gone from us. This is subtle. Let us explore nispruha further. The base word is spruha, which literally means longing, desire, yearning for something with emotional coloring. The spruha becomes spruha. The visarga, the colon, is merely expressing the root as the adjective. The upasarga ni is called a privative prefix, indicating without or free from, thus giving the meaning one who is free from longing. That is the way that it is to be read. Longing is an internal struggle than an internal driving expression, kamaha. Thus, spruha is not merely a desire. It is seen as an emotional dependence. I need this to feel complete. And this is what we call as craving. Bhagavan has expressed both kamaha and nispruha. And he is emphasizing on the spruha to say that this is to be taken with that context in mind. As in, nispruha is emphasizing that the spruha is taken up as the property that needs to be dropped in us, or that needs to be identified in us. Now, differentiator, kamaha, refers to I want this object, I want this experience, I want this identity, etc. Kamaha is more visible, very clearly identifiable by you, by your own self. No one else can identify the kamaha that is in you. You can very easily identify it. So dropping it is much, much more easier. However, the spruha refers to I need something to feel complete. I feel incomplete without this. It is an internal struggle, psychological or emotional layer in us. There, the focus is going away from the dependence and it is getting attached to something lacking in me. This spruhā is very subtle in nature. It persists internally and generates a chalanam, a disturbance. You can drop the desires externally, but still internally you may be missing them. Having a dependence on the same thing that you voluntarily dropped could be the outcome. You replay them in your mind, sometimes subtly, not even realizing that you do. Realizing or understanding or fighting that spruhā and defeating it in you is a wonderful exercise that one can carry on. So one can look at it like this: ragaha, which is liking, to kamaha, which is desiring, to spruhā, which is craving and developing a dependence, to trishna, developing an endless thirst, a full bondage. So this is the step by step things that have made us today what we are. We are not even able to understand that full bondage is not something that happened just like that, or that is natural. We have come into a conclusion that having the dependence is the way of life. The place where the problem starts is within the spruhā and trishna. And hence, Bhagavan has attached that nispruha to pumans charati. Our lifestyle has become something that is driven by this spruhā. Desire is wanting something. Craving is needing something. Liberation is freedom from both of these. That is what we need to keep in mind as we move towards understanding the subsequent chapters. A very interesting one. Slides that steps away. In modern psychology, this is called as dopamine loop. When I was doing the research on this shloka, I came across all these things and I started reading a little bit of it, and I thought I can just share what I read. So don't expect any kind of expertise in this in me. What I have read, I'm trying to just repeat it here, and maybe you are all aware of it much more. So dopamine is often misunderstood as a pleasure chemical, people taking it. Dopamine is that which generates an anticipation signal. It drives the feeling of let's go, get it again, drive into you. The loop is characterized as cue, the trigger, desire is the want, action, the seeking, as well as consuming. That aspect is included. And this leads us to reward, the satisfaction. The reward acts as the trigger, the cue, making it a cycle. This is what they call it as dopamine's loop within the world of psychology. I really liked it. And as I said, in the Bhagavad Gītā, we have seen towards a straight line, one leading to the other, and a reversal taking you to the liberation. The objective was different. Whereas in psychology, they have studied how the same thing, that it is a cyclical thing, which is acting as a seed for the next. And this loop continues, and you are going into this endless loop of running after the desire fulfillment. Earlier, dopamine was seen as something that equates to pleasure. The newer research has moved it to wanting, exactly what Bhagavad Gītā has said. Relevance to today's life. We scroll our phone and we don't like the feed. We feel something empty, but we can't stop scrolling. This is the best example that I could come up with when I was reading. And that is when I thought I should include it into the slide and make you realize what is happening. The scrolling is not based on the sukha anubhavam. This is based on the trishna. That trishna is what is driving. Some differences that I see between this modern psychology and Bhagavad Gītā is psychology says brain adapts and generates the need for more stimulation. Vedanta says desire can never end by fulfillment. The desires can only grow. From the loop perspective, psychology still goes with Vedanta here, but it generates more stimulation is the place where it deviates a little bit. Both these, Bhagavad Gītā as well as modern psychology seems to agree that fulfillment does not end desire. Fulfillment only strengthens the desire. This is something that I thought was interesting, so brought to your attention. Psychology helps you manage behavior, how to reduce the trigger, how to build the habit, how to replace behaviors, etc. Bhagavan says that realize that you are complete. Reduce dependence, not the object. Study and train your mind. Working on habits is supporting, but not the cure. So it is not like we should not do what the psychology has suggested, but as for Bhagavan, it is not the full cure. It will help you in terms of the full cure that Bhagavad Gita is giving, is providing. Nirmamaha. This word is an important word. Having no sense of this is mine, this is his, etc. It is not necessarily mamakaratvam doesn't really mean it is mine, that kind of a situation alone. It is his. That is also mamakaratvam only. The division of his mind, etc., that separation that creates is nirmamaha, when you are without it. Concept is uses everything driven only by the need and dharma, but owns nothing internally and is not dependent on thing. Be it my success, be it my knowledge, my people, my strength, my skills, whatever you add. The key lesson is you can know whether you have attained this state when you experience a loss. You may declare that you don't have that attachment in you. The truth of spruhā, that spruhā can be experienced only when you experience the loss. Every loss you encounter is the blessing and the support from that which you lost to indicate the spruhā with the blessing that God sees you and sees that you are ready to move towards the Sthitaprajña. This is a very important lesson. In fact, in one of the responses earlier to our friend, I had even said this. At the time, this slide was not ready. I was not even preparing on it. But then when I was completing this based on my notes and other things, I realized that maybe this is the right word. Every loss that one could have encountered is the blessings and the support from that which you lost. And it is a kind of a support that we have received from the persons whom we lost to indicate that spruhā, understand that is in you and just overcome it. And you are going towards the Sthitaprajña. It is a helping hand that they have provided in addition to whatever they have done. But that is what we need to realize. And that is what the place where we need to ignite that light into us. Nirahankaraha, free of ego. I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am this identity, like I am guru, I am boss, I am engineer, etc. Oh yeah, I am successful, I am a failure, or I am unlucky. Right? Those are also ahankara driven. This indicates that Sthitaprajña is one who has successfully removed the doership, the ownership, and the error in identity. The error in identity has been one of the major causes for almost all of the issues that we are facing. Identity is still needed. Bhagavan will say this in chapter 7 and explain it with a single word in chapter 8. Right, the shloka goes like this: Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tat viduh kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakilam. So this here Bhagavan says that such a person who is, in this example, let us take Sthitaprajña, he would know what is Brahma, right? What is Adhyatmam, what is Karmam, etc. So he says 7 characteristics in this particular chapter. And the 8th chapter starts with can you tell me what these are? Those are Kim Tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, is the way that Arjuna will ask the question. And for that, Bhagavan will give a one-word answer. Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavam Adhyatmam Uchyate. So that swabhav, that nature is very important. It is the kind of identity that one needs to understand. There are 2 kinds of identity. One is my true nature, that which I am absolutely capable of, that which I have a total clarity and I don't have any issue about execution or the understanding of the subject. This is very essential for one's growth. However, the identity that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the guru, or I am objectifying myself, that is the problem. So identifying your capability, your expressions is very different to identifying yourself as something. I can do this. I have been a software person for the last 30 plus years, and so I can do XYZ. This is absolutely a good identity. To identify myself as I am the architect or I am an engineer, that is boxing you. And somebody changes the identity of the term engineer, then you are disturbed. That should not happen. The position that I am given to hold does not define me. I am defined by the capacity that I can deliver, that I can render. Subtly, this now touches upon the question from Hari Bhaiya as well. This breaking aspect of identity or misunderstanding the term identity is one of the main reasons why we struggle. I have this capability, but my job has defined this as me. So I need to fill the space that is left or trim myself to fit into that shoe. This becomes our mindset. Our identity has shifted from my capability to what this definition of an identity is. So when I say nirahankaraha, this aspect of what I am is very well known to me. What is my strength, what is my weakness, and all those things. But I am not going to be bound by that which boxes me to something. I am the doer. It has boxed me into that. I am not a doer. I am capable of doing this is very different to I am the doer. So that difference one should be able to come up with, understand, and establish. A very important value. I think it's a good idea to take a break here and let us touch back on the Nirahankaraha again in our next class and continue with the Bhashyam and go into the 72nd Shloka in our next class. Shrikant Bhaiya.
Guruji, namaskar. Good evening, everybody. Guruji, a very nice session. I had so many questions as we were going through, but thanks for calling out. I think it was probably in the last slide where you were calling about yeah, maybe this slide
Yes.
actually. Yeah, the experience of a loss kind of becoming a catalyst to understanding where you are in this journey, and understanding that the spruhā is the time where you have to be more conscious and be able to reflect back that you're getting into that cycle, right? That cyclical kama kami cycle, and then try to get out, right? So yeah, I understand it. It's just it's a little hard to implement. Uh, so I just wanted to kind of reflect on that. And that's me as a dad. Ramni kind of she struggles with her own challenge being a mom. And I don't know. I think men are probably more in tune to or being more logical. The emotion just kind of is overwhelming for women. So I thought I'll just share that with you. That's one part. Uh, a couple of questions, and this is beautiful, right? And I love obviously Bhagavan sharing the essence, and we're trying to derive what it could mean. Uh, and then you actually bringing it down to simple daily examples. So that's very helpful, definitely very helpful. Uh, and again, there's some confusion, right? So as an example, the and I apologize if I have my words mixed up, but I hope you get the essence of what I'm trying to say here. So in saying that one should not have a desire, and I am going to here equate desire to, as an example, instead of it being a physical object or a thing, it could be a goal, as an example, right? So I want to become, I don't know, the president of America, assuming that I was born here, right? So if let's say that is an example, And if that is something that I constantly think about and I work towards, is that me being in the kama kami cycle is a question I have, right? So, and I don't know if that is true or not.
Yeah.
And in relation to that, and I'm thinking in going back to becoming Purnakami or Sthitaprajña, just the yearning itself, the pursuit of becoming a Sthitaprajña itself, why would that not be Kama-Kami cycle? You see my point?
Yes,
I
I
don't know
do
if
get
that.
it. I do get
Okay.
it. Yes.
So these are just some thoughts that just came, and I just want to run it by you. I don't know if there are answers. I don't even know if I'm thinking about it the right way, but I thought I'll share them with you.
Thank you. I think this is a very, very important question, and it may take some time to answer that. The quick answer is yes. When you have the desire to beat and become a sthita prajna, it is definitely a desire. We have two terms that we use for it. One is mumukshu and another is the kamakami. Mumukshu is one who puts an effort towards gaining that particular knowledge, whereas a kamakami is one who gets influenced by that desire and tries to run after that. I want to know the truth is very different from I want that. Is the kind of difference, but we can do a lot more exploration in our next class on this particular topic. The example of wanting to become a president or not, and you becoming a president, does it change you? Has it changed Trump in any way? You rejoice a particular success. I set an objective, I became that, so I'm rejoicing a success. But what has it changed in you? What has it made you? That is a question that we need to reflect upon. But on both of these, I will take a note after this, and we will try to catch up in our next class.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Guruji. I don't mean to add to your plate. These are just questions that I'm struggling with, and hence I thought of bringing it up.
It
So
is
thank
not
you
a
for your.
trouble. It is not a trouble at all. In fact, it is the duty of the role that I am playing. And uh, please come forth with all such questions. Being able to reflect a knowledge upon yourself is the first step to success. And when you start reflecting, you get more and more questions. Don't be bothered about completion, etc. As I said, this is a shravanam, this is an exercise, and then this is a mananam, where we contemplate and learn how to evolve ourselves from within. This is not a class wherein we are having milestones to achieve. It is just a session where we are exploring the knowledge given by Bhagavan to us onto ourselves and reflecting it on us. So that is what we are doing. So never hesitate with any questions, and feel free to always post it.
Thank you, Guruji. Have a good night.
Sure. Anything from Ramani Bhabi? Namaskar to you, Bhabi ji.
No, actually, she wanted me to. She had to go take care of something, but she said, "Please ask this question," which is what I'd shared the perspective. Uh,
Yep, yep, yep.
but yeah, that is all she had shared. So
Yeah.
thank you, Guruji.
And I will also address the other question that you asked, which is the difference between the mother aspect of it and the father aspect of it, or the man aspect of it and the woman aspect of it. We will try to touch upon that as well in our next class. We will start with that and then jump into the reminder of the Bhasha.
Guruji, just having heard from the previous question, uh, is it okay to think that having born in a particular this is my kshetra paripalana, that I carry certain desires as a duty uh, to fulfill, to do my justice to the kshetra paripalana, kshetra that I've taken. I'm
Very, very
supposed to have
subtle
some.
question. Very, very subtle question. The answer is we need to understand the term Kshetra Paripalana to understand the answer for this as well. Having the desire to do X for a specific objective as part of the Paripalana that I'm doing for this is great. The question will live in the subtlety on whether this desire is pushing you or you are pushing yourself towards the desire. There is a small mind shift which is very subtle to be observed, and that is the place where we want to put our attention in. Yeah, but take this question. Maybe we'll definitely explore on this in our subsequent classes as well. Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.